A number of battles going on in the state of Idaho right now over religious rights.
Using religious exemptions under state law, Idahoans can refuse to give their kids vaccinations. They can even get away with the death of a child because of a reliance on faith healing. So tonight in a special report, we're on your side exploring how far is too far in the name of religion. This Idaho cemetery is full of children who likely died because their parents didn't believe in medicine. Brian Hoyt grew up in the Followers of Christ community in Idaho that is responsible for most of these grave sites.
It's 100% neglect and abuse. I think it's sick and I think it's sadistic.
I find it hard as a parent that I would sit there and watch my child suffer and to the point of dying.
Former Ada County Coroner Erwin Sonnenberg was on the front line of the conflict between public policy and religious rights. In Idaho, faith healing is perhaps the most controversial example of how religious rights take precedence even over the life of a human.
I just have a hard time, knowing that that child would have been alive if they'd have just treated the sore throat.
Such lack of action by a parent would lead to criminal homicide charges in just about every other state in the nation, but not Idaho. Canyon County Coroner Vicki DeGeis-Morris works closely with Followers of Christ.
And I would never judge these people. These children are clean. The families are clean. Their homes are clean. These are just good people. They just have different beliefs. What they believe is that whether you live or you die is God's will.
But along those philosophical lines, there's a lot of open territory. For instance, what if someone believed in their religion that God would protect them while they're driving on the highway, even if they closed their eyes? After all, if there was a crash, it would be God's will. But it would also mean disaster for other drivers. So is that when religion goes too far, when it adversely affects other people?
I think if you're in a situation where you're putting others at danger, in danger, then that's a completely separate situation. And I don't think one's right to religious beliefs will really protect you in that situation.
But there's Idaho, one of 6 states with laws on the books to prevent prosecution of parents whose children die under the practice of faith healing. And an estimated 12 kids have died in the last 4 years, leading some to wonder if the balance is out of whack.
From a legal standpoint, one would hope that the state is doing everything they can to make sure the rights of the child to life are being protected.
In Oregon, that meant changing the law in 2011 and starting to prosecute faith healers, a move that Sonnenberg says impacts Idaho.
I was told part of the reason they were moving back here is because they had some cases prosecuted.
DeGeis-Morris says she doesn't understand the Followers of Christ, but she accepts them, and it makes her more efficient at her job. She says forcing change can be dangerous.
If you push something on somebody, you're going to meet with resistance.
But Oregon changed its law regarding faith healing, and Sonnenberg says it's time religion takes a back seat in Idaho to human lives. If you could change things, what would you do? Would you just make the exemption for religious freedom go away?
Yeah. I mean, when you're just talking about faith healing, you don't have to say religious freedom. Say, we're talking just more or less the faith healing aspect. We're not saying get rid of religious freedom.
Now, State Statute 18-1501 says any person who willfully causes or permits a child to be placed in a situation that its person or health is endangered could spend 10 years in prison. But it goes on to say prayer or spiritual means alone shall not for that reason alone be construed to have violated the duty of care to the child.
Interesting in that story that the Canyon County coroner seems, do I say, sympathetic?
Well, Vicki's been at that for some 30 years, and she's really spent a lot of time with these people. And her argument is that if you make faith healing illegal, that the followers may end up going underground. And if that happens, to avoid prosecution, they would never alert a coroner because it would implicate them if a child were to die. And if a child had some serious contagious disease, perhaps, no one would necessarily know in that case until it spread outside the boundaries of the Followers of Christ. So she says it's very important to keep that relationship open.
Lines of communication.
And 2 sides to every story.
True, true. Well,